Good evening, my guests, and welcome to another episode of Block Breaking Season 2. Tonight will be a night full of murder and mystery, and most of all, board game rules. That's right, I made Clue, the board game, in Minecraft. So let's take a stroll through the mansion and let me show you what I've got going on here. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the game Clue, it is a board game that's been around for many decades, and it's basically a murder mystery game. The players in the game are guests to a wealthy person's mansion. While they're there, the person is murdered, and the guests have to determine who committed the crime, what weapon they used, and in which room of the mansion the murder took place. And of course, if you're going to make Clue in Minecraft, you might as well make it Minecrafty, so the murder victim in this case is Steve. And we have a list of the murder suspects. The suspects are the Pillager, the Enderman, the Ghast, the Piglin, the Drowned, and the Skeleton. The choices of murder weapons are the sword, the axe, the crossbow, the bow, the fire charge, and the trident. And the rooms of the mansion are going to line up more with a Minecraft base, so we have a portal room, a great hall, a kitchen, a bedroom, a map room, an enchanting room, a storage room, a research lab, and a smeltery. Before I get into the mechanics of the game, let me talk about the mansion build itself. Oops, let me close that door. Ah, what a beautiful night for a murder. So this is the mansion here behind me. This build is not completely my creation. This was actually taken from a tutorial online from a Minecrafter named BigTonyMC. This is his Minecraft Fantasy Mansion tutorial. Now, I don't really consider myself a great builder, and I spent the majority of my time designing the actual game and the redstone, and I just wanted a nice mansion build to put all of this in. So there's one thing I've been trying to do lately, and that is to learn how to build better. And I've been watching a lot of tutorials and a lot of excellent building YouTubers. So now when I came across Big Tony's tutorial here, I thought that mansion looked perfect for the game of Clue, and also it was going to teach me a lot of good techniques and styles. So while I did use his tutorial to learn the build, and on first glance this build looks exactly like his, but down in the details it's not. I really had to improvise a lot because I changed the dimensions, I added a few extra towers and stuff, and that changed, you know, what window sizes and shapes could fit in the different walls. It changed the roof lines. It really changed the build up quite a bit to where I really had to use what I learned from the tutorial to complete the build. So big credits to BigTonyMC. I'm definitely going to link to his channel in the description here, and if you want to learn how to build some pretty incredible things, I suggest you go check out his channel. And the outside, the yard, this was most of this was done by our very own wire destroyer. I asked for some help doing some greenery, and he came up with this awesome yard here, a nice, nicely trimmed and perfectly well kept mowed lawn and hedgerows. And I can't thank him enough for that. It looks incredible. So now let's talk about the details of the game. So in the board game Clue, you're basically moving around a board which represents the different rooms, and you go to the different, you roll dice, you move to the different rooms, and then you make suggestions from those rooms. The suggestions would be like, you're going to suggest a suspect, a weapon, and a room. And then you're going to go around the table and see if anybody can prove that suggestion wrong. Yeah, just having people kind of in every different room of the mansion and not around each other, that's just really not going to work for Minecraft. So I really had to change it up. I had to kind of redesign how the basis of the game works, you know, and try to make it playable in Minecraft and fun. So I still have the basis of the game. You still make suggestions and you still try to determine the clues from those suggestions. But there's also other things going on in the game. There was a version of Clue that was made into a card game years ago. I think it was called like Mystery at Sea or something like that. But this card game used action cards to spice it up a little bit. So I took that idea and I used action cards to spice up the game. First, before I talk about those, let me go over the basic rules here. I'm gonna flip through these really quick. If you want to pause and read them all completely, like if you want to try to recreate this game yourself, feel free to do that, but I'm just gonna flip through them really quickly. So basically, whoops, let me get back to page 1. Okay, so basically what's gonna happen is we're going to take the 6 suspects, the 6 weapons, and the 9 rooms. We're going to randomly pick one of each of those, and that is going to be the solution that the players are trying to solve. All of the other clues that weren't chosen are going to be given out to the players in a, you know, typically dealt out to them like a deck of cards, and then they're going to ask each other questions to try to determine what cards are in each other player's hands. Okay, one thing I wanted to add to my game, though, was a little bit of a twist. I wanted to give the players a reason to actually go explore the mansion a little bit. So one thing I did was, not all of the cards are going to be dealt out to the player. Some of them instead are going to be hidden clues that are in some of the rooms. And those hidden clues are going to show up in the rooms inside these blue shulker boxes. So basically, like, one clue is going to come here into the Great Hall. Another clue is going to show up here in the portal room, down in the corner here. And so on and so forth. This idea, it makes it more fun for the players because they do have to go explore the mansion every now and then. And it also adds an interesting twist to the game, because the game doesn't start with all of the remaining clues in the player's hands. So during the course of the game, those players are going to go find those hidden clues and add them to their hands, and basically it's going to change the number of cards in their hands. It's going to change, you know, what clues are available whenever you make suggestions for players to prove you wrong. So I'm going to go flip through the different action cards real quick. I'm not going to explain these in details. Again, if you want to pause and read them completely, you're welcome to. There's going to be cards that let you view random clues from another player's hand. Those are spy cards. There's going to be a collect card for each of the rooms where the hidden clues are, so you can go and get that clue and add it to your hand. There's clues that let you swap info with another player. There's cards that lets you get a private tip from another player, so you're going to request that that player shows you, for example, all of their weapons, and then they have to show them to you privately. And then, of course, half the cards in the deck is the standard suggestion card that is what runs the game of Clue, where you make a suggestion of a suspect weapon and room, and then you go around the table until somebody can prove you wrong. Okay, so that's the basics of how the game is going to work. So let me show you the insane redstone that I had to design to make all of those things happen. The first thing we have is a couple of settings based on the number of players. So the number of clue cards is 21, right? There's six suspects, 6 weapons, and 9 rooms, right? That's 21. 3 of them are going to get chosen for the solution, and those are actually going to show up here in this solution box to be viewed privately whenever somebody tries to solve the game. So that leaves 18 other cards that in the normal game would be dealt out to the players. So now, like I said, I have an aspect where I'm hiding clues in the rooms, and I have 6 rooms where clues can be hidden. So if we're playing a 2 to 4 player game, I hide a random clue in each of those 6 rooms. Each of those rooms will get a single clue, and then that will reduce the card count for the player's initial hands to 12. And of course, 12 is evenly divisible by 2, 3, and 4, so that works out great for a 2 to 4 player game. With a 5 player game, that doesn't work out quite as well, because then you have 12 cards going to 5 people. You know, a couple people are only going to get 2 cards. A couple people will get 3. So instead, what I do in a 5 player game is I change up the settings, and now 3 of the 18 will randomly get put into 3 of the 6 rooms that can house the hidden clues. And then that will result in 15 cards remaining, which gives each player 3 cards in their hands. And the other option is if we play 6 players, I want to make sure everyone has at least 3 clues in their hand, which means none of the hidden clues will show up in any of the rooms. And basically those collect cards will be ignored if they're drawn. So it does remove that one aspect from the game, but it does make it more playable for 6 players. So, take a deep breath. I know I'm flooding you with a bunch of rules. And that's why I tell folks when I'm trying to teach them how to play this, I'm going to flood you with a bunch of rules, but it's all going to come together in the end, and it's going to make sense. So back to the redstone. So these levers are going to set basically how many clues get hidden in the rooms before the cards are sent up to where the players can draw them. So the players are going to draw their cards from here. So once all of the shuffling and the dealing and the distributing is done, all of the cards for the players to draw will show up here. And this is going to tell you how many cards each player draws, depending on the number of players. Right, so they're all going to show up in a dropper that's underneath this diamond block. And the players are going to come in and they're going to come in individually and hit this button. If it's, say it's a 4-player game, they're going to hit this button 3 times. And they're going to draw 3 clues to put into their hand, and that'll be their hand. Another thing we need to do is determine the order of play. So there is still going to be, you're still going to need to know like what player is to your left and what player is to your right. You're going to need to know how the players line up in a clockwise fashion for the suggestions. So what we do is we got some of our heads here. So say we're playing the game. Let's see. Let me start here. First, we're going to draw for turn order. And here we got spyglasses labeled players 1 through 6. If it's a 4-player game, we'll take 2 of them out, and then everybody will draw a random one, for example. Everyone will get a player number, And then we're going to come over here to the table and we're going to go to the chair. So say King Domini got player 1. We're going to put his head there. Say I got player 2. We're going to put my head there. And I put Nard's head on my head. And say Nard got player 3. So we put his there. So now at this point, we can kind of look at the table here and we can see, okay, Nard is to my left. So if I get the spy to the left, it's going to be Nard. If I get the spy to the right, it's going to be King. If I make a suggestion and it goes clockwise, I know that Nard will be the first one to try to prove my suggestion wrong, and then it'll be King. So that's how we determine play order. Now, these action cards that I was talking about, they're all here. There's 54 of them in total. Again, half of them are make a suggestion cards. And by the way I named these with letters after them, I only did that to make them unique so that they wouldn't stack. Those letters are actually meaningless. They're just there to make the names unique. But you can see, like, here's all of the collect the clue from the bedroom, collect the clue from the enchanting room, and so on. We've got like everybody spy to the left, everyone spy to the right. We've got the make a suggestion cards down here. We've got all the different private tip cards. We've got the swap info cards. So we've got all of them in here. So this whole getup here is a card shuffler, and this is going to handle the action cards. This card shuffler, I actually got the design from somebody who made a card shuffler for Scrabble, and Scrabble uses 100 tiles, and he made his shuffler fit a 100 card deck essentially. When I built his shuffler, it didn't quite work for 54 cards. The shuffler was basically too big. There were too many droppers for the cards to get down into. So I basically had to take his design and just shrink it up a little bit to where it would work for a 54 card deck. And I will put a link to his video too, so you can see where I got that shuffler design from. So I'm not going to go over all of these controls, but basically you can, this is a discard pile, and we keep this hopper locked until we need to shuffle them back into the deck. This lever starts shuffling the cards and gets them all into the shuffler. And then this lever actually forms a draw deck and a dropper that's underneath this block. And then whenever players need to draw their action cards, they should just come over here and hit a button. Players will get an opening hand of 3 action cards. Every round on their turn, they're going to play an action card. Then after they've played it and resolved it, they'll put the action card that they played here in the discard pile, and then they'll just draw a new card to replace it. Pretty simple stuff. So now let me demonstrate the redstone in action, and then I'm going to go below and show you the insanity that I had to design to make this work. So here we're set for a 2 to 4 player game, and I'm going to press this button to start it. Once I press that button, the first thing that's going to do is these barrels are going to drain out, and all of those clues are going to go down into the system. One of each of them is going to be randomly selected to be sent up here into the solution box. And once it arrives, we're going to hear a ding and we're going to see the light light up. And that should happen in just a moment. Ding, there it goes. So now, of course, this is the solution. Nobody's allowed to look into this box until they try to actually solve the game. But I'm going to show you what's in here. Basically, and here's the door closes behind you so you have privacy, and this is the solution. So in this game, the ghast did it with the crossbow in the enchanting room. So that is the solution that the players are trying to solve. Now right now what's happening is the 6 cards that are being distributed into the hidden... Oops, the bell just rang. Okay, it was a little quicker than I thought. It takes a minute for everything to happen. But basically, each of the 6 rooms that have a hidden clue got a random one of the remaining clues distributed into it, and then everything else came up here into underneath this diamond block to be drawn by the players. And we heard that bell ring to indicate that the cards have shown up. So to start the game, basically the players are going to come back here, and now they can hit the button to start drawing their cards. So for example, I would draw a hand of 3 cards, and I've got a fire charge, a skeleton, and a trident. So now I can mark these off on a piece of paper, saying that I know that the solution cannot contain a skeleton, a fire charge, or a trident. And then the next person will come in and they will draw 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And like their 3 were drowned, pillager, and axe, for example. So now that person can mark down that they know that these 3 can't be the solution. And so on and so forth. And like I said, with a 4-player game, each one of these 6 rooms got a hidden clue. So this one is the research lab. So if I played the card that said collect the clue from the portal room, I would come in here and I would take that research lab and I would add it to my hand. So now my hand would contain 4 cards. The Great Hall got a clue as well, and that one was the bedroom. So if I was the one who played the collect card for this one, I would come and I would add the bedroom to my hand, and now I would have 5 cards in my hand. And that would continue up here in the enchanting room. There is a clue hidden in the enchanting room as well. In this case, it was the bow. Up here on the 3rd floor is a storage room above the enchanting room, and this one gets a random clue as well, and that one I have hidden in the corner over here. In this case, the map room was the clue hidden there. Also on the 2nd floor, I have the bedrooms over here, and in one of the bedrooms, a clue shows up here. And this one, in this case, it was the smeltery. And on the 3rd floor through the bedrooms, you go up this tower here. This takes us to the smeltery. And the clue in the smeltery, in this case, was the Enderman. So once you reach a point in the game where all 6 of those clues have been collected, then it gets a little bit easier to start deducing what's in people's hand. Because before all 6 of those are collected, you can make a suggestion and it might go around and no one can prove you wrong, but it could be that some of those are out here in the hidden rooms. Oh, this is a fun room. This is the research lab. There's no hidden clue up here, but I enjoyed building this. This is all of the stuff that Steve has found through his adventures that he has been studying and researching, including Patient Zero. And he is not a statue mod. He is real and he hurts. And besides Patient Zero, I have another mob here in the castle, which was really interesting to try to get a hold of, and that is Carl. And again, he is real. He can hurt. So now that you've seen kind of how these items get distributed out throughout the castle, let me show you the redstone behind the magic. So I have an access over here, maintenance access, that I can use. So this is the Beast. This is probably best viewed in free cam because I can't hop around this thing very well. I have to use scaffolds to get everywhere. So this machine, this took me, oh gosh, almost 2 weeks to design, trying to figure out how I mechanically wanted the game to work, you know, figuring out about how I wanted them distributed out to the different rooms and all, how I'm gonna pick out the cards, and then actually making all of that happen with Redstone. This took me literally about 2 weeks, and when I'm talking 2 weeks, I mean like almost every evening and weekend days in those 2 weeks to design. I am not going to explain how all of this works in detail, but if you want to know, like if you want to try building this yourself and you want to know exactly what all this redstone is and how it works, I can totally do a supplemental episode explaining this redstone. So if you want me to do that, just drop me a line in the comments and I'll be happy to make that episode. So the real quick rundown of how all this works. So those levers up there that set the game mode, that moves these pistons up or down, which kind of enables one of these 3 circuit paths. One of these paths will not distribute any clues up into the rooms. It'll just send everything straight to the player's draw pile. One of these paths is the one that we are just using now, which you can see this one's enabled. This path is the one that will distribute 6 clues out to each of the 6 rooms. And the other path is the one that will only distribute 3 clues out to 3 of those rooms. And the way I got it to do the distribution either 0, 3, or 6 times is literally just I let the circuit that does the choosing loop, and then I just shut it off after a certain amount of time has passed. So either the circuit doesn't go at all, and that's 0, or the circuit lasts long enough for 3 loops, or the circuit lasts long enough for 6 loops. How I picked the original clue cards up here is pretty simple. Each of those barrels drains down into an individual hopper. Once I've waited enough time for all of 3 of the droppers to be filled, I then trigger them 1 time to make each one of them spit out 1 random item, and that is what chooses the solution. 1 random suspect, 1 random weapon, and 1 random room. Those will come down into this chest. Once they're in this chest, basically we're going to lock that hopper so that no more clues can go into this chest. And then we're going to enable a circuit that's going to power this thing a bunch of times. Click, 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 click. And that's going to shoot all of the rest of the clues out here. And instead of coming down here where the solution went, they're going to come down here where they can be randomized and sent out to either the rooms or the player's draw pile. So the way I handled the distribution out to the rooms is I used a randomizer here. So this is a 6-item randomizer. And it uses these filled shulker boxes that are filled to a different number of items. That one has 1, 4, 6, 2, 10, and 8. So depending on which shulker ends up here, it's going to send a certain strength signal out, and it's going to enable one of these hoppers. One of those hoppers. Once it has chosen one of those and it enabled a hopper, then the dropper that is holding the clues will shoot out 1 clue. That clue will go into the enabled hopper, and then that is going to lead. Let me come back up here. So for example, if it enabled this one that says bedroom, the clue that gets spit out will go to the bedroom, and then it'll follow its line of hoppers all the way to an item elevator, which will take it all the way up to the bedroom. All 6 of them work that way. And the way I can have it to where each room can only be chosen once is that after the randomizer has chosen a shulker and it has unlocked a hopper and allowed for enough time for the clue to be to get to that hopper, this will then break that shulker and dump it into here, but this torch will keep this hopper locked so that that shulker cannot be chosen again. It'll just stay in this hopper. So then basically, like if we have to choose 6 times, each one of these can only be chosen 1 time. Right? And even if we're doing 3, each one of these can still only be chosen 1 time. They will stay locked in this hopper until all of the choosing is done. Once all of the choosing is done, then it's going to just fire up that dropper as many times as it takes to spit all the rest of the clues out. All the rest of the clues will come down to this 1 unlocked hopper here, which will take it to the players, to that corner underneath the diamond block for the players to draw from. Once it has waited enough time for that to happen, then this circuit will turn off this torch, it'll unlock this and allow all of these shulkers back into this dropper to be used again for the next time. So, did you get all that? So can you go ahead and build it yourself now? Okay, I'm not going to bore you with any more explanations for this, but again, if you want to know this in full detail, just drop me a line in the comments and I can make an episode for that. Also, I can tell you, I am not a Redstone guru or anything. Redstone is still... Oh, hey you. It's like I'm Alfred in the Batcave. Anyway, I am by no means a Redstone expert. I mean, most of these, like, I have to like look up circuits and then just decide how to put them together. Everything I built here, I am 100% certain that everything I did here can probably be done easier, smaller, simpler, more elegantly And I'm sure someone who's an expert can probably build all of this in like 1/4 of the space and do it in a day or two where it took me 2 weeks. But it works. Everything does exactly what I want it to do, and that is pretty exciting stuff. So after I built this game, a bunch of folks on the server helped me place test it several times. I've gone through now like 4 iterations of the game. Every time we played it, we kind of saw like things that weren't working quite right, or let's do it this way. It'll make the game more fun. It'll make it more interesting or quicker. And I thank every one of those people who helped me playtest this thing, and I think we really made a really cool, fun game out of this. Well, I was going to include some clips here of us playing the game, but number 1, this episode has gone on really long already. And number 2, this game is way more fun to play than it is to sit and watch people play. So I think I'm going to wrap up the episode here. I appreciate you coming by and joining me on this adventure through the Clue Mansion. And until next time, you take care of yourself, okay? Bye-bye.